Ooh, I know what I could do for our intro. I'll spin this thing. More.
Gimme, don't stop.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Shoe It YouTube channel. We really appreciate you hopping on today, as they say, because as one of our favorite comedians says, it is statistically 100% easier to not do things. So we really appreciate you doing this. So today we're going to talk about how church. So 2 weeks ago we did
why
church, what the reasoning is behind going to church and why it exists. And then last week we talked about what church, and now today we're going to talk about how church.
Which basically means how to intentionally invest in and be a part of the church.
Our first point today is don't leave early. Acts chapter 2 verse 42 says, all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals and to prayer. A deep sense of awe came over them all, and the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. They worshiped together at the temple each day, met in homes for the Lord's Supper, and shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all the while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. Don't leave early. A lot of people we've noticed get to church late, like in the middle of worship or after worship, listen to the message, and then they leave before everyone else does, try kind of like getting out of there early. Church is like not meant for that. It's not meant to just entertain you and give you a good message. It's meant for you to go and invest in relationships. It's meant for you to go stay late, like talk to people afterward, make friendships, step out of your comfort zone and talk to people. And stay for like the most important part of church, which is worshiping Jesus together with your church family. So don't leave early. Take the example of the early church, which was to really invest in your church community. Don't leave early.
This leads us to point number 2, which is to invest sacrificially. We talked about the church not being about you in our last video, and if you hold that mentality, all of these things will follow. Investing sacrificially looks like staying late to help clean up, or getting there early to help set up. Putting yourself on teams that are going to help serve the church, or if you see a need at the church in maybe the children's ministry, maybe you'll miss a sermon, but you'll get to help out where there is need. It's about taking the time to invest in places, even if it costs you something, because this community is worth investing in and it's worth making sacrifices for. Kind of along those lines, the third point is say yes to things that aren't you. One of the best examples of this is when we first got to our church. There was a women's dessert, and I knew 2 people who were going to be going, besides the pastor's wife. I knew 2 people who were going to be going, and they both last minute said that they weren't going to go. And I was really nervous, and it was a bunch of older women that I didn't know, and I sat in the parking lot at church, and I almost drove home. But instead, I forced myself to get out of the car. I went down to this dessert, and I formed some awesome relationships. Later, I got to go to a women's retreat with a few of those women that I met at the dessert, and it was the start of some really awesome relationships that I would never have made if I had just gone to church and hung out with my friends and not gone to things that didn't feel like me. So take the risk. Say yes to things that aren't you, especially in the beginning.
Lastly, we have found it's very helpful to not rule out people just because they are different from you. And what we mean by that is sometimes when you go to church, I hear people say, oh, there's not enough young people, or I don't feel like there's enough people who are really like them, have the same culture, have the same family background, same worldviews. And this can be a deterrent for some people to not pursue certain relationships. But what we have found is that when you pursue relationships that seem to be unlikely, a lot of times they are the most rewarding friendships. Some of our best friends in Santa Barbara are retired, a really cute retired married couple who live close to us in Santa Barbara. They have been, some of the greatest supporters of our ministry and funnest people to hang out with and play board games with.
They came to visit us when we were on the island.
Yeah, and that's just an unlikely friendship. Just people who are, either way older than you, different culture, like you name it. There are a million reasons to say no to friendship. I want to encourage you all to pursue those relationships that you suspect there won't be a connection there, but there might be if you try.
So there it is. 4 short, easy ways for you to invest in and get connected in your church. This is a great tool for if you're in that stage where you feel like you don't have a lot of community in your church yet. This is a great time for you to pick one, do these 4 things over 4 different weeks maybe, and then see if anything is different.
As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week when we talk about serving and balance. What it looks like to serve in the church in a healthy way while also embracing your limits and taking Sabbaths.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.